I love this time of the year. I don't know about you guys, but it's like we're like on the edge of getting to fall. Officially, fall starts in like a month or so, or 20 days or something. I don't know. Um, but right now, we just have to kind of pretend, right? Like football is back, and so that makes us think fall, and it seems like Starbucks is coming out with their pumpkin spice stuff like the middle of August now. It's just all starting earlier and earlier. If you come to my house, it looks like Hobby Lobby and TJ Maxx had a love child. It's like fall explosion everywhere. And we're just in this season where it's like, this is fall, this is good, this is a good time. And all of these are good things. But my favorite thing about fall is I feel like coming out of summer and the busyness of summer and the lack of a structure during summer, when I come out of that, fall is always a time for me to feel like I can just get regrounded and feel like I have even a minimal amount of control over my life. But soon enough, what's going to happen is we're going to be in November, and by this time, my house looks like the North Pole. And by this time, I'm going to wake up one morning, the fireplace is already going to be going, it's already going to smell like coffee, Bree's already going to have my cup of coffee there, and I'm going to look outside, and there's just a little bit of frost on the grass. And at that point, I'm going to be wanting winter to come so that I can get snowed in, so we can get some snow, we can play with the kids, doing the sledding down the hill thing, and all that good stuff. But soon enough, as we march on through winter and my brown grass is depressing me and I'm tired of the cold and I'm tired of like having like the snow melts and the whole yard is muddy and I'm just getting tired of the cold, soon enough I'm going to be saying, I wish spring would come. And then spring will be there, and it's great, and baseball starts in spring, and new things start happening. The grass starts growing. You can hear the animals, and it's exciting. It's a time of life. It's a time of growth. But then the middle of May is going to roll around, and we're going to be just on the edge of summer, just on the edge of the kids being done with school, just on the edge of summer vacations and swimming in the creek and sleeping in and all these exciting things. And I'm going to be ready for summer. And then summer's going to roll around. And at some point, it's going to get to be 115 degrees outside. My electric bill is going to be 3 times what it normally is. And I am going to be desperately asking the Lord just to bring us some cool weather. Like I've prayed for nothing else in my life. Lord, just make it cool. And I'm going to be wishing for fall. And the cycle just continues. It just repeats. It just does that for the rest of my life. I don't know, maybe you're like, oh, definitely have one favorite season and the rest of them, I don't like them. They can eat dirt. I like all the seasons. And eventually I kind of get tired of one season. It's just fun to go from one season to the next. And isn't our life like that? Don't we have like these different seasons where some are good, some are bad? Some things we like it, even if it's going good. Like we're kind of excited to step into a new season and step in and experience some new things. Our life seemingly just goes from one season to the next. Well, the 3rd chapter of Ecclesiastes talks about these seasons that life finds us in. And I don't want to spend a large amount of time on the background information, but I think that a perspective that we need and that is good for us to have, it is important for us to recognize that the unknown author of Ecclesiastes is sharing the reflections or the sentiments of an unknown old man that we only know him as the preacher. The preacher is likely at the end of his life, and he's reflecting in wisdom on the various events that have come his way and the various things that he has gone through and the various things that got him to the place that he is at and how God was at play during those things and what we can learn from his experience. So with that, read with me Ecclesiastes chapter 3, starting in verse 1. For everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. It's not necessary to go through this line by line to notice that there's a pattern here. Our life has seasons, and sometimes the seasons are good. Sometimes things are good, but sometimes things are bad. Sometimes things are easy, but sometimes things are difficult. Sometimes things are exciting, and sometimes things are really just kind of a bummer. There's this pattern. Is anybody glad that they were born? Well, guess what? Death also comes with the territory. Does anybody want to work hard? Well, at least later on, you get to reap from your hard work. You get to benefit from that later on. You're going to weep, but you're also going to laugh. You're going to mourn, but you're also going to dance. Here's the bottom line. You're going to go through a lot of seasons during your life, and some will be good, but some won't be. Some will be expected. Some will hit you like a ton of bricks coming out of nowhere because you had no idea that anything was even close to that going to happen. What I hope you recognize is that in those moments, even when life is difficult, I want you to recognize two things. Recognize that God is near. God is near. He is not a God that is far away. He is never out of reach. He is near to us. And in fact, the Bible says He is very near to the brokenhearted. So when things are difficult, He's there. But when things are great, He's there. So I want you to recognize that God is near, and I want you to recognize that God is working in that. And sometimes that's a really difficult thing for us to reconcile. Why is this thing happening? But if we can recognize and take notice of the fact that God is working through that, and that He is working for His purpose, and that He's doing something, and it's not all for just giggles, it's like He's doing something, we can recognize His presence, and we can recognize His purpose in that. So why are we talking about this today? This seems like a bummer. For Horizon Church's first birthday, why are we talking about these seasons and how some of them stink? Why are we talking about that? Because I believe that everything that is being said about individual lives can also be said about Horizon Church. We are one body here. We are a living, breathing organism that has been organized, has been placed on this earth for the glory of God and for the expansion of His kingdom. And so know that when we go through difficult things, God is near us, and He's also working through those things to get us to where He wants us to be, to do what He wants to do. Can I make some predictions about our church? We're going to have seasons of great joy. We are also going to have seasons of great sorrow. We're going to have seasons of tremendous gain. We're also going to have seasons of tremendous loss. We're going to have seasons where awesome things happen. We're going to have seasons where average things happen. We're going to have seasons of order and organization, but we're also going to have seasons of chaos and calamity. We're going to have seasons of peace, but we're probably also going to have seasons of conflict. We're going to have seasons of triumph, but we're also going to have seasons of defeat. What is the point of telling you all of this? Is to show you that as we step from one season to the next, it may be difficult, but it may also be so beautiful that we can't comprehend it, that we don't have words for it. As we step from one season to the next, it may be really, really hard, but things may also happen with so much ease that all we can do is just sit back and say, okay, Lord, what you have done is incredible, and I don't know how you did it. I don't know how we got here, and I feel a lot like that's where we're sitting at right now. It's just, Lord, how did this happen? But if our stability is in Christ and our eyes are on Him and our focus is on gospel multiplication, I believe that we have more exciting seasons ahead than difficult seasons. In fact, look what the old preacher said next. Verse 9 says, "What gain has the worker from his toil? I've seen the business that God has given to the children of man to be busy with." Listen to this. "He has made everything beautiful in its time." He has made everything beautiful in its time. These seasons that God brings us through, the seasons that we weep and the seasons that we laugh, the seasons that we mourn and the seasons that we dance, the seasons that we're born and that we die and we plant and we pluck, and all these seasons, God is using those to make everything beautiful in its time. So that moment that you're in, that thing that you're in, that season that you just look at it and you say, this is not good. God is going to redeem that, and He's going to make it beautiful in His time, in the perfect time. Everything that you go through, every season, the good seasons, the bad seasons, everything that you go through is being used by the sovereign God of the universe to make everything beautiful in its time. And I don't know about you, but I sense in my heart and feel that God is making things beautiful through Horizon Church, through the seasons we've been through the seasons that we're going to go through. I look so forward one day when I step into heaven and there's thousands of people who can trace their lineage in the faith back to Horizon Church. Whether they're actually saved in this church, or whether they're saved in a church plant that we go plant sometime, or they're saved by a missionary that we commission sometime, or they're just saved by somebody that we disciple in these walls. I believe that there's going to be a lot of people in heaven because of you, because of your sacrifice, because of your love, because of your servant's heart, because of your sacrificial giving. God is going to use Horizon Church in all of our seasons to make everything beautiful in its proper time. So what seasons have we seen, and what season are we going into? You know, it's been the privilege of Bree and I to be a part of every single season. Like from the first moment of God might be calling us to get out of youth ministry and plant a church, to this moment today where we're seeing God glorified, where we're seeing His work on display. We've been in seasons of dreaming. We've been in seasons of planning. We've seen seasons of preparing. We've seen seasons of major, massive life changes, both within our personal life and the church. And we've seen seasons of minor change. We've seen seasons of sowing, and we've seen seasons of gathering. We've seen seasons where we have waited patiently, and we've seen seasons where God is moving so fast we don't feel like we can keep up to what all He is doing. We can't catch our breath. We've seen seasons of mind-blowing generosity and provision through God's people. We've seen seasons where we are fully dependent on other churches and people outside of these walls, to a season that we're currently in where it feels like we're starting to learn to stand on our own two legs just a little bit. And that's really cool. I hope you know, like, for me to look back from where we were a year ago, and it's like we need a ton of help, both financially and just like we need you to show up and help us paint, to where we're at now, and it's like, man, God is building this thing. We've seen seasons where it felt like, to me anyways, we were just playing this game called church, to where now it's like, okay, this is a real thing. Like, this is a church. We're a church, and we do this, and God is glorifying and doing things. And can I just tell you that I love every bit of it. I've loved being a part of the journey. I've loved seeing what God has done. I've loved every season we've been in. But I do not want us to get comfortable in it. I don't want us to settle in and say, you know what, the church is pretty full today. It's pretty good. I don't want to settle right there. I don't want to settle with baptizing the people we're going to baptize today and then we don't ever use the baptistry again. I don't want to settle with just being a place that we come and we get fed and we feel like we're glorifying God and we feel like this is a great place for me to be. I don't want to settle there. I don't want to be comfortable there. So we're stepping into a new season, and I believe in my heart that we're stepping into a season of growth. And understand that numbers are not everything to us at Horizon Church, but it is encouraging to see the house full. It is encouraging to see people coming. And when you have numbers, you have people hearing the gospel. And when you have people hearing the gospel, you have people responding to the gospel. And when you have people responding to the gospel, heaven gets a little bit more crowded. and then they turn around and they start doing the things that glorify and honor the Lord. So no, we're not all about the numbers at Horizon Church, but it is encouraging to see the house full. And I believe that we're stepping into a new season of growth. And I believe that we're stepping into a new season of harvest. Man, I'm so excited about the Wednesday night program that we'll see children coming and hearing the gospel every single week. I'm excited about Sunday services where people are being drawn in and they're hearing the gospel each week. I'm excited about our community groups where we're going deep and people are hearing the gospel every other week in those. And those things, they're getting fuller and they're going to have to multiply soon. And it's just exciting. I'm excited about some of the faces who are stepping up into leadership positions, who are stepping up into serve. I'm excited that as time marches on, like we're able to identify people who might be leaders in the future. I'm excited that after this service, we're going to baptize 3 people. And I hope that we wear that baptistry out. Man, I'm excited to use that thing more often. I'm excited that our financial stability is trending upwards. And I'm going to be really excited when Matt and I get to call all of our partners and say, hey, we're fully funded internally, but here's another church planter. Will you go do for them the same thing you did for us? I'm excited that in my vision of the future, Horizon Church is going to plant other churches, and we're going to commission missionaries, and we're going to send out students into their schools with a preparation of what it means like to share your faith. So if you ask me what season we are stepping into as a church, it's that one. It's an exciting season. It's a new season. It's a fun season. And I just want to invite you to be a part of it. If you guys will just bow your heads with me, the band's going to make their way back. I promised you we weren't going to preach a real long time today. If you have never surrendered your life to Christ, maybe that's the first season that you need to step into. And we would love to pray with you about that. We would love to talk with you and walk you through that. We would love to baptize you today. I mean, if you don't have dry clothes and you don't want to, that's fine. We can schedule it for another day. But we would love to know that you know the Lord. Or maybe the season that God is leading you into is just one of being a part of a church. Maybe this is like the first time you've stepped in a church in a long time, or maybe church has not been a real priority for you. It's just something you do every once in a while. We would love to have you be a part of Horizon Church, and I just want you to know that God is building something special here. It's certainly not what I'm doing. It's certainly not what Matt is doing or any of the people who serve. God is building something special here. And Sunday is my favorite day of the week. And I want to invite you to be a part of that. Or maybe God is just leading you into a season of greater gratitude and greater praise. And so I'm going to pray in a moment, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to ask you to stand and just worship with us.